Couple, I'm in Proto-moto and welcome back to another deck profile. This is Runick. So the way I built it is more of a pure variant where we have the main goal is to deck out your opponent, but there are different ways to play this deck, and there really isn't one way to play this. I've seen people run like major stall engines like with Sky Striker or stuff like that. So this deck has a lot of viability and room to get things done. So starting off with our monster cards, if you could call them that, they're basically just hand traps. So we play 3 copies of Droll and 3 copies of Veiler. So Droll and Veiler will allow you to go into your plays for access code, and they're just super helpful later on. We play 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More, just because if you go second, you need to have this card, because if they be like, yeah, we have like tons of negates over here, the main goal is to resolve your quick play spells, so you need to have Dark Ruler No More to go off with that. We play 1 copy of Instant Fusion just because it allows you to go into your copy of the Runick Fusion monsters without using his quick play spell. Next up, we play 1 copy of Terraforming for our field spell, either our Mystic Minds or our copies of the Runick Fountain. We play 3 copies of Runick Destruction. Depending on your locals, right, this could be a good card or a bad card. If you're not playing against a lot of Eldritch or any decks that require back row, this is not going to be as powerful as you might think, so you can swap this out. But the target 1 spell and destroy it, then banish the top 4 cards is really, really good when you try to mill out your opponent. We play 1 copy of Runick Dispelling. So basically, this only really matters if your opponent is adding a lot of cards to the hand. So like Spite, for example, that is one of the cards I would say include more of, but we do have Veilers as well as Droll, so that shouldn't be a problem. It's just another option. That's why I'll play 1 of. We also play 1 of Runick Flashing Fire, just because this is only good going second, and you can just side those cards in. Next up, we play 3 copies of Freezing Curses. This is your kind of imperm for the deck. So you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls to negate its effects until the end of the turn, and then banish the top 3 cards of your deck. Next up, play 3 copies of Golden Droplet. Golden Droplet allows your opponent to draw 1 card, then banish the top 4 cards of their deck. So basically what I would typically do is that I'm going first and I have Droll in hand, use Golden Droplet, then activate Droll, and then from there on, and then lock them for their draw for that turn. Next up, we play 3 copies of Runick Slumber. This is just monster protection against card destruction and battle destruction. So if you want to save against like a big beater and you have a defense position monster, it's a good way to save it. And then you also get the top 3. Next up, we play Runick Smiting Storm. So this is good if your opponent goes first and you have Dark Ruler No More in hand. So you activate Dark Ruler No More, and then if they make a large enough board within their first turn, activate Runick Storm, and then they have to banish cards up to the number of cards they control. So if they have an entire full lineup, 5 monsters on the field, they have to banish 5 cards off the top of their deck, which is really cool, and it's really fun to play, and no one really expects it. Next up is our Searcher. So Runick Tip. This allows you to search any Runick card from your deck to your hand except itself, and then you banish the top deck of your opponents. Next up, we have 3 copies of Scapegoat. Scapegoat's really good just because it allows you to protect yourself against damage. So usually what you'll do is, when they declare attack, right, if they even have monsters on the field, just go for a Scapegoat and then have them just beat into it. Then you have 1 more turn to play around. Next up, we'll play 1 copy of Runick Allure. This is just basically just extra power to banish the top card of your opponent's deck. So that's why you'll play 1 of. Next up, we'll play 2 copies of Mystic Mind just for the stall plays to mill out your opponent, and then 1 copy of Runick Fountain to activate your quick plays during our opponent's turn, and then recycle our Runick quick play spells from our graveyard, and then draw cards. We finally play 1 copy of Metaverse just because sometimes you'll actually have to activate this and go into Mystic Mind, just because sometimes they'll just out your board because this is a spell heavy deck. Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, Twin Twister, stuff like that, because people play that in the main deck, Common Cyclone, stuff like that. So you kind of want to make sure you're kind of prepared for that, so having Metaverse is really good. For our extra deck, we play 2 copies of Jerry, 2 copies of Moonin, and then 3 copies of Hugin. And next up, we play 1 copy of Access Code for our board destruction, and then we play 1 copy of Boiler Code. This could be any generic Link 3, or it could be another generic Link 2. Really up to you. It could be Boracade Blocker if you want. We play 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn, 1 copy of Celine, 1 copy of Hulk, 1 copy of Gravity Controller, which is really good because a lot of people kind of forget, like, oh, I have no way of outing to go into other plays with my Runick cards, right? Gravity Controller just gets rid of that problem completely, so you're able to play around it. and then 2 copies of Link Spider for your scapegoats. In our side deck, we play 3 copies of Ash, and then a bunch of fusion stuff. So first off, we play Venom Fusion Dragon, Draco Staplia, and then we have the new Garura, Mud Dragon, and then we also play another copy of Jerry, and then a Moonin to go for a playset. But the reason why these are in here is just because it's, with the format right now, it's a lot of dark monsters, a lot of monsters of the same type, but different, you know? If you have Super Poly, it's really underrated, and people don't expect it to happen, and then you can't respond to Super Poly, so it's really good to have these cards if you know what you're playing against during the second game. You also play 1 extra copy of Gravity Control just because you might need extra wiggle room. And then you play 3 copies of Super Poly and then 2 copies of Summon Limit. I'll say this, Summon Limit is probably going to be the best card of this format just because a lot of the decks go for multiple summons. So make sure you just have this like lying around just in case, because a lot of the meta like Thunder Rays, Splits, they summon more than twice in their same turn. So they need to out this card somehow before that. So if you have this going first, you are fine, and you'll be able to play properly and out your opponent, basically. So that's it for this deck profile. Let me know what you think about these archetypes in general, like Valiants or Labyrinths, and leave a comment down below if you want to see another deck profile on the channel, alright? So I've been Proto-moto, and I'll catch you guys later, alright? So sayonara.